They look harmless, tiny, even fragile. But some of these insects can paralyze you, devour you from the inside, or even kill you with a single sting. Today, you'll discover the 15 smallest killers on the planet. And if you see one near you, run. Because what you're about to see might make you look down at the ground in fear. Number 1. Mosquito, Anopheles, Aedes, Culex. It may be just a few millimeters long, move in silence, and vanish as quickly as it arrives. But the mosquito is, without question, the deadliest killer on Earth. Yes, deadlier than a shark, a cobra, even a lion. Because you don't need to see it to be in danger. It only takes one bite. And with that tiny bite, it can change your life forever, or end it within days. Mosquitoes of the Anopheles, Aedes, and Culex genera have been responsible for pandemics, human suffering, and millions of deaths throughout history. Malaria, dengue, Zika, chikungunya, yellow fever. These aren't just medical names. They're real diseases, often incurable, present in more than 100 countries around the world. And here's something few people know. Mosquitoes don't bite for food. They do it to reproduce. Only the female needs your blood. And when she does, she injects a cocktail of saliva with anticoagulants. And often with viruses or parasites that can be deadly. The result? More than 700,000 human deaths each year. That's like wiping out an entire city the size of Seattle, every 12 months. And the worst part is that many of the victims are children. Did you know a mosquito can detect your presence from more than 30 meters away? And they're drawn to the carbon dioxide you exhale, the heat of your body, even the sweat on your skin. Literally, you can be on their menu without realizing it. That's why, if you're in a risk zone, don't get complacent. That faint buzz in the dark could be the signal of a disease that changes your life, or ends it. Number 2. Tsetse fly. At first glance, it looks like any ordinary fly. But don't be fooled, because if you're in sub-Saharan Africa and this creature bites you, you might just be signing your death sentence. The tsetse fly has been called the Black Angel of Eternal Sleep. Not because it sleeps, but because it makes you sleep forever. This insect transmits one of the most dangerous parasites on the planet, Trypanosoma brucei, and with it comes sleeping sickness. It all begins with a barely noticeable bite, a fleeting irritation, but within days, fever, muscle pain, sweating, weakness. Then the parasite invades the nervous system. The victim begins talking to themselves, loses track of time, drifts into confusion and hallucinations. And then comes the most lethal symptom, uncontrollable sleep. Not normal sleep, no. A mental blackout, a body shut off, a one-way journey into coma, and then death. Did you know this fly can infect you without you noticing? Unlike other species, its bite is stealthier. No buzzing, no chasing. It just waits, strikes, and leaves. Each year, thousands of people in rural Africa fall victim to this disease. And while treatment exists, in areas without access to medicine, the chances of survival drop drastically. The most disturbing part? The tsetse fly doesn't need to bite many times. A single bite, a single encounter, and the clock starts ticking. A biological clock that can slowly shut you down from the inside. So if you ever travel through the African savanna, don't fear the lions. Fear what you don't see coming. Because the real predator has silent wings and a thirst for blood. Number 3, bullet ant, Paraponera clavata. Imagine being shot. Not in a movie, not in a video game. In real life. That's how those who've been stung by this insect describe it. Like a burning bullet tearing into your flesh and never leaving. It's called the bullet ant, though its scientific name is Paraponera clavata. But in the Amazon rainforest, where it lives, they call it the 24-hour ant. Why? Because the pain from its sting can last up to 24 hours non-stop. And it's not just any pain. It's sharp, piercing, paralyzing. Entomologist Justin Schmidt creator of the Sting Pain Index, ranked it at the very top. In his own words, "It's like walking over flaming coals with a rusty nail driven into your heel." The bullet ant doesn't go looking for conflict, but if you stray too close to its territory, if you accidentally step on its nest in the jungle, get ready, because it doesn't attack alone. A single sting is already a traumatic experience, but a group attack can leave you immobilized on the ground, screaming, unable to think straight. Did you know some Amazon tribes use these ants in initiation rituals? Young men must endure dozens of stings as a symbol of courage, and many simply faint from the pain. Although its venom isn't fatal for most people, its effects are brutal. Unbearable pain, cold sweats, trembling, partial paralysis, and a fear that burrows as deep as the stinger itself. So if you ever find yourself trekking through the jungles of Central or South America, keep your eyes wide open, because if one of these creatures slips into your boot, you won't be facing a simple ant. You'll be facing a living bullet that never misses. Number 4. Japanese giant hornet, Vespa mandarinia. Asian giant hornet. It has a name that sounds exaggerated, until you see it in action. The Asian giant hornet, also called the murder hornet, isn't just the largest of its kind. It's one of the deadliest on the planet. With a wingspan of up to 7 centimeters and jaws that can shred insects like paper, this creature is no ordinary wasp. It's an attack machine, fine-tuned by evolution to kill mercilessly. Its stinger is so powerful it can pierce clothing. And the worst part, it doesn't lose the stinger when it strikes. That means it can sting you over and over, injecting neurotoxic venom with every strike. A venom so potent it can dissolve human tissue, cause necrosis, excruciating pain, and in severe cases, acute kidney failure. In Japan, dozens of people die every year from its sting. Not from allergies, but from the physical collapse caused by its venom. And when they attack, they don't do it alone. They release a pheromone that marks their enemies, and within seconds, the entire swarm goes into war mode. Did you know a single group of these hornets can wipe out an entire beehive in under an hour? They decapitate their victims one by one, leaving behind a trail of headless bodies. They don't do it for territory. They do it for hunger. And although they usually inhabit rural areas of East Asia, their presence has been detected in North America, sparking health alerts in several countries. If you see a giant hornet and think you can swat it away with your hand, think again. Because if you mistake this winged killer for an ordinary wasp, you might end up with far more than a sting. You might end up in an emergency room, if you make it there in time. Number 5. Botfly, Dermatobia hominis. There's something worse than being bitten by an insect, and that's not knowing something is growing inside you. The botfly, scientifically known as Dermatobia hominis, doesn't need to kill you to drive you insane. It only needs to use your body as an incubator. Yes, this fly doesn't settle for just biting you. It lays its eggs under your skin, and it does it without you noticing. How does it manage this? It hijacks other insects as carriers. It attaches itself to a mosquito or common fly, and when they bite you, the botfly leaves its larvae inside you without you realizing it. Nature's engineering and pure terror. Days later, the nightmare begins. You feel a strange itch. Then a bump appears. They tell you it's just a bite. But what you have under your skin isn't venom or pus. It's a living larva feeding on your tissue. And yes, it moves. The pain is constant, deep, piercing. Sometimes you can even feel the larva writhing inside you. And if untreated, it can cause serious infections, fever, even permanent damage to the affected area. But beyond the physical harm, there's the psychological toll. Knowing something is alive inside you, foreign, feeding on your body, can trigger anxiety attacks, panic, even post-traumatic stress. Did you know the most common way to remove it is by making a small hole so the larva crawls out on its own when it can't breathe? Yes, its body has spines that keep it anchored, like a biological hook. That's why if you ever travel to tropical regions of Central or South America, don't underestimate a simple bite. Because in the jungle, the enemy doesn't always attack from the outside. Sometimes, it invades from within. 6. Flea. It's small, silent, almost invisible, but history remembers it as one of the deadliest creatures ever to walk or jump on Earth. The flea, that tiny parasite many associate with pets, was responsible for one of humanity's greatest health disasters, the bubonic plague. Yes, the very same plague that ravaged Europe in the Middle Ages and, according to records, killed more than 200 million people. How could something so small cause so much destruction? The answer lies in its method. The flea feeds on blood, but if its host, like a rat, is infected with bacteria such as Yersinia pestis, the flea becomes a deadly carrier. And when it jumps from an animal to a human, the tragedy begins. The most unsettling part is that its threat didn't stay in the past. Today, in the 21st century, fleas can still transmit diseases like typhus, plague, and other dangerous bacterial infections. And in some rural regions of the world, outbreaks still occur. Did you know a flea can jump more than 100 times its own height? That would be like you leaping to the top of a 20-story building. That ability allows them to spread quickly, in ways nearly impossible to control. And the worst part, they're incredibly difficult to detect in time. They make no noise, they leave no trace. They just bite, jump, hide, and wait for their next victim. A simple itch could be the start of a serious infection. And if you have pets, the risk increases. Because in the insect world, the biggest doesn't always win. Sometimes the most dangerous enemy is also the smallest and the most patient. 7. Ticket doesn't run, it doesn't jump, it doesn't fly. It just waits, patiently, for hours or even days. Until someone, you, your child, your pet, passes close enough. The tick doesn't impress with its size, but under that tiny shell hides one of the most persistent and dangerous parasites in the world. This little vampire latches onto the skin with terrifying firmness. And while you go about your day, unaware, it slowly feeds on your blood. And at the same time, may inject you with something far worse. The tick is infamous for transmitting Lyme disease, a silent infection that begins with a bullseye-shaped rash but can escalate to joint pain, neurological problems, chronic fatigue, even facial paralysis. And it doesn't stop there. It can also carry Rocky Mountain spotted fever, anaplasmosis, babesiosis, diseases that, without fast treatment, can become life-threatening. Did you know many victims don't realize they have a tick until days later? They hide in tricky spots, behind the ear, in the scalp, between the toes, at the nape of the neck. And in children or animals, they're even harder to spot. A single infected tick is enough to spark a tragedy. And the most sinister part, its bite doesn't hurt. You don't feel it. Because its saliva contains anesthetics that numb the skin while it pierces. A silent surgical attack, often invisible. In wooded areas or tall grass, the risk is higher. And you don't need to live in the jungle. Just a walk in the park, an afternoon in the countryside, or a stroll with your dog can expose you. Because sometimes, the real danger doesn't strike from the front. It clings to you without you knowing, and won't let go until it's too late. 8. Kissing bug, Triatoma. Can you imagine an insect kissing you while you sleep? And that kiss being able to kill you? It's not science fiction, it's real. And it's called the kissing bug. Known for striking at night, this creature doesn't go for your face out of affection. It does it strategically. While you sleep, it approaches silently, guided by your body heat and the carbon dioxide you exhale. And just when you're most defenseless, it bites near your lips, eyes, or nose. That's why it's called the kissing bug. The bite doesn't hurt, it leaves no obvious mark. But that's where the real threat begins. The kissing bug transmits a parasite called Trypanosoma cruzi, responsible for Chagas disease. An infection that at first may seem harmless, mild fever, general discomfort, swelling. But if not detected in time, it can cause irreversible damage to the heart, digestive system, and nervous system. And in many cases, death. The creepiest part is how it does it. The insect bites, and then defecates near the wound. When you scratch without knowing, you push the parasite into your body. Yes, the infection enters through your own hands. This pest lives in rural homes, wall cracks, old mattresses, palm roofs. Especially in Latin America, where millions of people are exposed every night without knowing it. Did you know many victims develop heart problems years later, without ever suspecting the cause? Chagas is a silent, progressive disease, and often incurable if not treated early. So next time you think an insect does nothing, remember that some don't need strength or venom. They just kiss you while you sleep, and patiently wait for their gift to destroy you from within. 9. Taturana, Lonomia obliqua caterpillar. It looks harmless. A simple, hairy caterpillar, slowly crawling up the trunk of a tree. You might even think it's pretty, until it touches you. The Taturana, or Lonomia obliqua, is one of the most venomous caterpillars on the planet. And it's no exaggeration to say a single brush against it can kill you. This lethal insect, found mostly in the forests of Brazil and other parts of South America, doesn't need to bite or sting. Its venom is in the hairs covering its body. Thousands of tiny needles that, upon contact with your skin, inject a toxin capable of destroying you from the inside. The result? Massive internal bleeding. Not superficial, not visible. You bleed from within. The clotting system collapses, organs fail, and if you don't receive the antidote in time, you can die in a matter of hours. Did you know there are reports of people who simply leaned against a tree and accidentally touched a colony of Taturanas? Most didn't know anything was wrong until they began bleeding from the nose, gums, or even the eyes. The scariest part? It's camouflage. It blends perfectly with bark, dry leaves, moss. It's invisible until it's too late. And this isn't some rare case. In some rural areas of Brazil, hospitalizations from Taturana encounters are common during the rainy season. So much so that the government keeps antidote reserves near high-risk zones. One caterpillar, one brush, a body beginning to collapse from within. So if you're walking through a tropical forest and see what looks like a moving tuft of hair, don't touch it. You might be facing a killing machine disguised as a poisonous plush toy. 10. Africanized bees, killer bees. You see them flying from flower to flower. But don't be fooled. These aren't the sweet bees you imagined as a child. They are Africanized bees, also known as killer bees, and when they attack, they do it like a storm. At first glance, they look like ordinary bees, but their behavior is pure chaos with wings. They are hyper-aggressive, unpredictable, and act with terrifying coordination. A small disturbance, a noise, a shadow, a wrong move is enough to throw the swarm into attack mode. And when that happens, there's no easy escape. These bees can chase their target for up to 400 meters, flying at full speed, diving one after another. Dozens, hundreds, thousands. Did you know they've caused numerous deaths across the Americas, from Brazil to the southern United States? Not because of their venom itself, but because of the sheer number of stings. They attack in mass, and their ferocity can cause anaphylactic shock, respiratory collapse, or cardiac arrest. And the worst part? They don't calm down easily. Once the swarm goes into defense mode, they can stay agitated for hours, attacking anything that comes near. These bees are the result of a hybridization between African and European bees, originally intended to increase honey production. But the experiment went wrong. And what emerged was an extremely territorial and dangerous species that spread uncontrollably. There have been reports of attacks on runners, cyclists, farm workers, children in parks. And when they strike, it's not always because of a real threat. They do it simply because they feel the entire world is their hive. So if you hear a loud buzzing in the countryside or near an old structure, run. Because these bees don't warn. They don't hesitate. They don't forgive. 11. Giant Amazon centipede, Scolopendra gigantea. It has no wings, no stinger, but the mere sight of it can make you instinctively step back. With a segmented body straight out of a nightmare and legs that move like living gears, the giant Amazon centipede is the kind of creature you don't forget easily. It can reach up to 30 centimeters in length, and we're not talking about a slow or clumsy animal. This centipede is an agile, fast, and voracious predator. Its diet? Mice, lizards, frogs, even small birds. Yes, you heard that right, an insect that hunts birds. This land monster strikes with surgical precision. Its front legs are modified into hollow fangs, through which it injects a neurotoxic venom that paralyzes its prey in seconds. Then it coils around it and devours it alive. In humans, its bite is not lethal, but brutally painful. The area swells, burns like fire, and in some cases can trigger high fever, vomiting, dizziness, and muscle spasms. Did you know it can climb walls and hide in cracks, backpacks, or shoes? That's why, in some parts of the Amazon, people shake out their belongings before using them, for fear of an encounter that could cost them their health. Unlike many insects that flee from danger, the giant centipede doesn't hesitate to attack when cornered. And it does so with a ferocity you wouldn't expect from something with no face and no voice. So if you ever venture into the South American jungle and see a long shadow crawling across the ground, stop. Watch. Because you may be face to face with one of the most fearsome predators in the insect world. One that doesn't need to fly, sting, or stalk. It only needs to get close enough to bite. 12. Bombardier beetle. When you hear the word beetle, you probably think of something slow, clumsy, maybe just a harmless little bug. But there's one that defies all logic. One that, when threatened, literally explodes. Meet the bombardier beetle, a creature that feels like it was ripped from a science fiction film. And its name is no exaggeration. This tiny warrior can spray scalding jets of corrosive chemicals at over 100 degrees Celsius, with accuracy sharp enough to hit your eyes, skin, or face. How does it do it? Inside its body, it mixes hydrogen peroxide with hydroquinone in a tiny explosion chamber. When triggered, the compounds react violently, creating a mini chemical blast that propels the liquid outward at speeds over 6 meters per second. The result? Chemical burns, pain, blisters, and even permanent eye damage. All from a bug less than 2 centimeters long. Did you know it can fire up to 20 times in a row without reloading? And it doesn't just shoot in a straight line, it can swivel its abdomen like a tiny war cannon, blasting in multiple directions. On top of that, it's incredibly fast. Agile, slippery, nearly impossible to catch bare-handed. Many predators have learned the hard way. Frogs, lizards, even birds avoid it after just one encounter. This beetle doesn't need venom or fangs. Its weapon is pure chemistry and deadly aim. So if you ever see a shiny little beetle lifting its abdomen as you approach, don't trust it. That's not surrender. It's a warning. Because you're about to meet one of the most explosive insects in the animal kingdom. 13. Horseflies. They're big, they buzz loudly, and they fly straight at you without fear. Horseflies are not ordinary flies. They're flying machines of pain, and when they bite, you remember it for a long time. Unlike mosquitoes, which pierce the skin with precision, horseflies tear flesh with their mouth parts. Yes, literally cutting your skin open in search of blood, like using miniature blades. The pain is immediate, intense, and comes with swelling and burning. And as if that weren't enough, they rarely come alone. Where there's one, there are dozens. Did you know only the females bite? They need blood to develop their eggs. They're usually found in places with stagnant water, rivers, ponds, marshy fields. Perfect spots for an aerial ambush. But pain isn't the real danger. The truly terrifying part is what they can leave behind. Horseflies can carry rare but dangerous diseases like anaplasmosis, which attacks the immune system, and loiasis, caused by a parasite known as the eye worm. Yes, a real parasite that can literally crawl under the conjunctiva of your eye. Imagine looking in the mirror and seeing something moving inside your gaze. And the worst part? These flies are relentless. They chase, swarm, ignore repellent, and can even bite through thin clothing. They often target cattle, horses, and any human unlucky enough to be in their path. Fast, tough, and with a bite you'll never forget. Horseflies are far more than a nuisance. They're a real danger, especially in tropical and rural regions. So if you hear a deep buzzing while walking near water, don't wait. Run, hide, or cover up. Because horseflies don't warn you, they just fly, bite, and leave their mark. 15. Spiny leaf insect, Extatosoma tiaratum. At first glance, it just looks like a twig, a dry piece of wood hanging from a leaf. But don't be fooled, because this master of camouflage hides a toxic secret between its legs. The spiny leaf insect, also called the giant prickly stick insect, has perfected the art of disguise. It can stay motionless for hours, mimicking branches and dried leaves with uncanny precision. And that's the problem. It's so easy to underestimate that you might end up touching it. And when you do, it defends itself. Not with bites, not with stingers, but with pure chemistry. This insect can release an irritating substance from its thoracic glands, a defensive mist that, when in contact with your skin or eyes, causes burning, itching, swelling, and intense redness. Did you know even natural predators learn to stay away after a single encounter? Its foul smell and instant sting serve as an unforgettable signature. Don't touch me twice. And while not lethal to humans, its dermatological impact can be very unpleasant. For allergic or sensitive people, the reaction can last for days. And if the liquid gets into your eyes, you may need medical attention. Native to Australia and New Guinea, this insect has even become popular as an exotic pet. But those who keep it know it's not just a living plant ornament, it's a camouflage expert armed with a chemical weapon. So next time you're in a forest and see a twig moving without wind, look closely. Because it might not be a twig at all, but rather a living reminder that, in nature,